Can't. Hello, Mr. Ganesh.
I see him there. Yes, Mr. Ganesh is in,
Ganesha,
but
sorry. Mr.
sorry,
Ganesha.
Ganesha is in, but his camera is off.
Yep. Yeah, 1 second. I'm just adjusting the background.
Okay, sure, sure. Yeah.
How are you, Mr. Ramesh? Okay.
Okay, all good, all good. So preparing for the just I PM to all the participants also, reminding them how is the progress for the third assignment. So maybe we can have another discussion, but most of them they personally send lah to me to ask some information also.
Mm-hmm.
So seems to be okay lah.
All right, right.
Then so if we follow the schedule, the closing ceremony prize giving will be on the 19th, kan?
Yes.
So maybe I will remind all of them that 19th is the closing ceremony. So those who can come, and of course, then I'll come up with a program lah,
Mm-hmm.
that we invite. Of course, then some VIPs from SEDA also hope can join us.
Oh, yeah. But we are quite back at this
Yes,
for this month lah. So but we will try to. I'll try my best to invite some of the.
yeah. Otherwise, yourself also can lah, because it's quite low key.
Mhm.
So you or Che Roslan,
Mhm.
Mr. Ganesha, all can come to, for the, what we will do is a hybrid,
Okay.
So which means those students who can come to the center to receive their prizes, we welcome them. But those who cannot come, then we'll do a live streaming from our studio,
Mhm.
and they can participate in the live streaming. And also we also invite the public, because the third quiz will be during that closing ceremony.
Okay.
So there's more participants can join to watch the live streaming of the prize giving, and also the competition, the quiz.
Right.
Okay, so we got about 6 more minutes.
Yeah, can I just test the presentation? 1 second.
Sure, Mr. Ganesha. Can share slide.
Yep.
So students who have joined in, welcome. Selamat pagi. Thanks for joining very early. I like your enthusiasm. Rajin sangat.
I think this is the first time we do it on weekend. I think
The last one we did Saturday.
on Saturday.
Saturday also was okay.
So can you see the slides?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Yeah, good. Very clear and full screen.
Yep.
Can. Yeah. Your audio is good also, quite clear. There's no what you call macam echo semua lah. Very good.
All right.
So, Mr. Ganesha, your topic will be types of renewable energy, especially in Malaysia, right?
Yep.
So what will happen is, after you give your talk, I will share the link for the quizzes. So a lot of the quizzes are based on the topic of the types of renewable energy.
All right.
Some are very general, but many of it is relating to, like, let's say, solar, relating to hydro. There are 20 questions, and then we will, based on the one who answers the fastest and the most accurate, it will be like a gamification, So we use this platform called Quizzes. So it's very interesting. Then we can see their ranking, where they go lah.
All right.
So that's how it works for today lah. Okay, welcome. We have Rashvina. These are all mostly our student ambassadors, So they are the ones who are very involved in coming up with their own design posters. And we also told them to share what we are doing today with their friends and the entire school. So hoping that more of them will be able to join. But those who can't join, they can still watch the recorded video.
Okay.
What we will do is, after this session, we give about half an hour, they will quickly download. We will share in our Facebook, and we will share in all the groups. that they can still watch the video, the recorded video, and answer the questions, because the quiz will close tomorrow. So they got about 24 hours to, still watch the video and answer the questions.
Okay lah, they roughly spend 1 hour per question lah.
Uh, yes, yeah. So the last 1 hour is when most of them will submit. But the good thing, even for all those watching today, so how quizzes work is that fastest, and we have got some back end, what you call, mechanism that we have put. Like for example, if they attempt more than one time, we can see already.
I see.
So we will take the score of the first attempt only, because you can attempt it many times, you'll get 100% already,
Yep.
right? So then it's not fair for those who are seriously attempting it once. So the system, we will be able to detect only those who attempt the first one, marks will be taken.
All right.
Because then there are some clever people who use different account. All right. So we try to also see if we can detect the same name. Sometimes they use their mother's account or brother's account, so a little bit of tricky there. But there is no 100% foolproof, so we leave it to the discretion of the students lah. I mean the participants. But so we have, so just to remind the students, be truthful, because the questions are also very interesting. So you learn through answering the questions.
All right.
All right. So we're coming to another 2 more minutes. We'll stand by for introducing the speakers for today's session. So we've got 13 of them who've already joined in. Some of them will also be watching through the YouTube link, which we have shared. So our team from STEM Studio is also recording it. So they will also monitor, because even on the YouTube channel, they can post questions. All
So
right.
is it going to be an interactive session or is it a one-way session?
Interactive in the sense that so it depends on Mr. Ganesha. If you want to take questions any time of your presentation, you are welcome. Or if you say reserve all the questions to the end of your session, also can.
Okay.
They can raise their hands to ask questions, or they can also chat, put in the chat box the questions. I will read out, since you're going to focus, then I'll read out the questions that are posted on the chat box.
All right.
Okay, so we start sharp at 11 lah, yeah. So
Yep.
since this is a recorded version, let me remind my studio team also. Miranda, are you on the with us?
Yes, Ramesh. Good
Okay.
morning, everyone.
Morning.
Miranda is from STEM for All Makerspace. She's our manager. So she will also be admitting, because I realized when I do the presentation, then I can't admit people. So Miranda will help to admit. And then our studio will also record this on the YouTube channel. So Daryl will be recording it. Yeah, Miranda?
Yes, he is.
So we can start now.
All right.
Yeah.
Daryl.
Good to go, right?
Good to go. I just wait for the cue for Miranda to say recording is in progress. Then it's easier. Okay, welcome all who have signed up for our second webinar and quiz on SEDA's renewable energy. Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi semua.
Morning, everyone.
Welcome, Dr. Yahya is with us. Muted.
I'm here.
Yeah. Good morning. So Dr.
Good
Yahya is
morning.
also one of our team members who have presented a lot of ideas and tips on making good video production, as well as the social media campaign, because the ambassadors, one of their role is to create a small campaign and get more people to be excited about renewable energy. Okay, so is recording all right?
Okay, recording now.
Oh, you're also recording, huh? Okay, thanks.
Already, Ramesh.
Okay, recording is in progress now. Thank you, guys. All right. Welcome to all our student ambassadors. SEDA Seed student ambassadors, and also others, because today's session is open to public. Public meaning all students throughout the nations. Selamat pagi, selamat datang ke sesi yang kedua webinar dan kuis SEDA Renewable Energy. Alright, so today's session is very much on the topic of the types of renewable energy. Okay, so we have with us Inche Izwan from SEDA, who is the champion, the lead person for this project from SEDA. We have the speaker, Mr. Ganesha Pillai, and he will be the speaker to talk about the renewable energy, so types of renewable energy in Malaysia. We have Dr. Yahya, who is one of our lead facilitator to teach on on the renewable energy campaign, social media campaign. All right, and we also have our team from STEM for All Makerspace who's doing the recording. We will also share this recording. All right, so a quick brief on what's going to happen today before I pass to Inche Izwan. Now, what's going to happen today? For 40 minutes, Mr. Ganesha will talk about the type of renewable energy. And after he has presented his materials on the renewable energy, we will share with you the link on the quiz. All right, there'll be 20 questions. I think most of you have already participated in the first one, so you know how it works. So very exciting. You just go to the link. That link is actually a Google form link, which you have to give your name, and then straight away you'll get the link for the quizzes. The reason is because we need to capture your name, then only the certificates will be generated. Okay. All right, so so that's how it works. So as we go along, I'll explain further. Welcome again to all our participants. So we have about 27 of them who have already joined in. Some of them will be joining in other platform in the YouTube channel. All right, so without further ado, I'd like to invite Inche Izwan from SEDA to give his welcome address to all of you. Izwan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. So, hi, good morning and good morning. Selamat pagi semua. So, welcome to the second session of the quizzes for the SEDA Seed program. And for those who have had participated on the first session, if you want to try your luck again, or you can try for this session, this second session, we'll be talking about my colleague, Mr. Ganesha from SEDA Malaysia as well. He'll be talking about the sources of renewable energy, not just in Malaysia, I think maybe also generally a bit more into it since last time from last hour session we didn't talk much about further detail about the renewable energy. So now we have the expert about renewable energy, Mr. Ganesha. So he will be talking. You can ask any question during the session, and I hope you guys will get some good information and input for your knowledge and also for your project, school project. So it will benefit you and also make you more aware about this renewable energy lah. So I think I'll pass this session to Mr. Ganesha or Mr. Ramesh. You want to talk something first?
Okay, I will quickly mention about how they can ask questions, and then I'll introduce Mr. Ganesha. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Inche Izwan. All right. So before I introduce the speaker, just some house rules. Please switch off your mics and cameras also if you need to, because it may, the clarity of it may be reduced. Then later we'll ask you all to open your cameras. We'll say take a group photo. All right. Now, if you have any questions, you can either post it on the chat box, all right, or you can raise your hand and ask the speaker, Mr. Ganesha, to help you with any queries that you have. Okay, so that's the two main things that I want to announce, all right? So I'll introduce to you the speaker, Mr. Ganesha Pillai, and he's the Assistant Director for Strategic Planning Division in SEDA. All right, so he has a lot of experience in renewable energy. So I think we're very, very, very fortunate to have him to talk about the types of renewable energy, which will also be very useful for our student ambassadors, because when you do your final project, you can capture some of this information. Remember, you have to do a small slide presentation. So I'm sure the information shared by Mr. Ganesha will be very useful for your final presentation. All right. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Ganesha.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I'll just start with the presentation.
Please.
Yep. Is it visible for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, very visible.
Yep. So just a quick introduction again. We are coming from Seda, Malaysia. I'm Ganesha from Strategic Planning Unit. I also work as an energy analyst. So we look at potential renewable energy to introduce into Malaysia, and also what other policies we can improve in terms of our current policies at the moment. So let's get going. So just a quick introduction. The usual question would be, what is renewable energy? For my understanding, what renewable energy is, energy which is extracted from sources that are naturally available and continuously replenished, and it's environmentally friendly. Like, means it doesn't harm your environment, and it's also readily available. So it's not like fossil fuels like petrol or coal or natural gas, where you actually dig it up, and over time it's basically it won't be available after that. So that's how renewable energy is different from other energy sources or fossil fuels or conventional energy sources. Please ask any question at any time. Unfortunately, I can't see if the hands are raised. And Mr. Ramesh, can you please just help them with the questions?
Sure, will do.
All right. So I'll just go in general of all the renewable energy sources. So to highlight the 6 main renewable energy sources: hydropower, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal, bioenergy, and ocean energy. So I'll go into the breakdown of it. So hydropower, there are 3 main differences: impoundment, diversion, and pump storage. Impoundment is basically a block where you actually collect the water and then you release it when you require the energy. It goes through a turbine and then it spins the turbine to produce electricity. Diversion is you move the stream of water through a storage or through a turbine to produce electricity. And pump storage is basically um, 2 different barricade, if you can imagine. One where the water is being collected and then it goes down to produce electricity, and then when you have excess energy you pump the water back up, so it's sustainable in that sense. And then for solar energy, there are 2 main type of energies. One is solar photovoltaic, where you actually use the light to produce electricity, and solar thermal is in a sense that you use the heat from the sun to convert water to hot water, so you actually don't use so much of electricity in terms of heater. And for wind energy, there are 2 different type of axes. So horizontal axis is the one that you usually see in Holland or in New Zealand, which is like a fan. And the other one is the vertical axis. The vertical axis looks a bit more like our DNA, so it moves differently. Right now, horizontal axis is the most commercially used, and vertical axis is still in development stages. And moving on forward, geothermal, there are 3 different type of concepts on how you use geothermal: dry steam, flash steam, and binary cycle. Dry steam is basically you collect the heat from the system itself. Flash steam, most of the time what they use is they pour water into the geothermal to produce steam, and then they consume it. Binary cycle is a mixture of both. So simple logic is they are pouring water into hot stone under the ground to produce steam, and from the steam they are producing electricity through a steam turbine. Everybody clear, right, so far? Am I going too fast?
Good. So far, good. Just one point, Mr. Ganesha.
Yep.
There's a bar that appears below.
I'm sorry.
You can just hide that,
All right.
Great. Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So then we go into bioenergy. Bioenergy is broken down into 3 main energy sources: biomass, which is from solid; biofuel, which is liquid based; and biogas. So example of biomass can be anything, especially wood and basically food wastage, or yeah, these are the basic two which I can think about at the moment. But there's so many other biomass examples that you can actually use, and the most common one would be palm oil, empty fruit bunch, and biofuel. In Malaysia is actually one of the biggest biofuel producers. We actually produce palm oil, and we have got a lot of developments in biofuel as well. If you look into it, Putrajaya has actually started working on increasing biofuel for taxis and also public transport. So that's another potential thing which is actually going to boom soon. And biogas, for example, would be methane, where you actually cover food to produce energy from the collected gas, and then you put it through a gas turbine as well. So all these energies are considered, in simple terms, it will be considered as carbon neutral because you're actually releasing carbon, but it's being collected to produce energy. And all the other energy sources which I mentioned earlier, they are not so carbon neutral because they are carbon zero. They don't produce any source of carbon. So let's jump on to ocean energy. So ocean energy, there are three main energy types also. Wave energy is a constant 24/7 because as long as there's wind in the sea, there's waves. And in terms of potential growth, it's a lot, but we haven't found the technology to basically catch waves yet. That's a very high potential in terms of growth. And tidal, how it functions is when there's a high tide and low tide, the movement of the tides actually produces tidal energy, which is right now being developed in Scotland and certain parts of Europe. In Malaysia, we don't have potential for ocean wave energy at the moment because we have got 200 meters of Selat Sunda, or very high land towards 200 meters. And further from that can be a potential, but wiring wise, it'd be useless. It'll be too far and we'll basically lose a lot of energy for transmission alone. And ocean thermal is something where you actually see the differential between the heat from on top of the surface of the sea and below the surface of the sea. The temperature differential is where you actually produce energy from. That is one potential that we can look into. Any questions so far?
Sorry, on the chat box, I don't see any questions also.
All right.
But feel free, students. We've got 32 of them on board, so feel free to ask questions at any time. Don't be shy, yeah?
Hi.
Okay, very good. You have got a question, Adrina?
Yeah. Can you explain one more time about bioenergy?
Yep, sure. So bioenergy is broken down into three different: solid, liquid, and gas. If you look into biomass, there are so many different things that you can actually use. One of it would be WTE as well, waste to energy. So most of us collect our waste in terms of the garbage truck collecting our waste and then throwing it into a landfill. Another way of processing biomass would be collecting those waste, which can be used as biomass and burning them to produce energy. That'll be one. Biofuel, in different terms, would be processed palm oil or coconut oil, which is naturally available, which you can be used as fuel for our cars as well. So in that sense, biofuel would be another option. Biomass is solid, biofuel is liquid, and biogas. Have you all heard about this thing called sanitary landfill?
Never heard of it.
Okay, fantastic. So sanitary landfill, how it works is they collect this garbage and then they put it into like a hose where they collect the gas out of it. That is basically methane. They collect the gas and then they use the gas to produce energy. So that's how biogas works. And it's a bit pungent, but it's called sanitary landfill because there won't be any smell. Normally, when you go to a landfill, like a garbage collection is very smelly, right? Hello?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah, because there was no feedback. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so that's about it. So biomass is basically solid, which you can get it readily available from the nature. Biofuel are liquid based, and biogas is in a gaseous form. That's the only thing about bioenergy. And the reason why it's carbon neutral is because when you process it, you're actually burning it, so it actually produces carbon. It's carbon neutral because at the end of the day, the trees and all collect this carbon, and then we use these trees to a certain extent to produce this energy. So that's why it's carbon neutral.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions regarding this? Hydropower, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal, ocean energy. I guess no questions. So just to give a bit of examples, hydropower right now is one of the largest RE capacity in the world, and there are a lot of positive and negative things said by hydropower because of the land take up and also the wetted area. But if managed properly, hydropower has got a lot of potential because at any moment you can collect the water and release it to produce electricity. Solar energy is one of the fastest growing industries in renewable energy, and photovoltaic is the most easiest to install. If you have a roof, you can actually put up a solar panel and produce energy. And in terms of Malaysia, we got the highest potential because it's hot 24, I mean, not 24, it's hot for almost 6 to 8 hours a day. And depending on rain and cloud, your efficiency changes in that sense. Wind energy, unfortunately, in Malaysia, we do have wind during monsoon season, which is about 3 months plus minus, and it comes with rain and lightning. So it won't be so helpful for our turbines if we have wind energy. But our winds are not strong, so might not be so much of a potential. But wind energy worldwide is growing, and people are looking into offshore wind as well. Geothermal, one of the best example I can give you about geothermal is Iceland. If you all can go and look into Iceland, they are basically almost 90% or can be considered 100% 100% RE capacity because they are sitting on top of a volcano. So they get the gases from the volcano itself to produce electricity. Iceland, you all can go and look into that. And bioenergy is readily available in most countries, especially countries which, like Malaysia, are really close to the equator, where we can produce a lot of crops. So from crops, you actually produce energy. Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand have got very high potential. And ocean wave energy ocean energy has got the highest potential, but it costs a lot, and there are still developments ongoing in terms of that energy source. All clear? Move on.
Yes, please.
All right. So these are examples of the renewable energy technology. Can anybody guess which one is which? Anybody want to give a try?
The first one is hydro.
Yeah, the first one is hydro dam. Next.
The second one is solar.
Yeah.
Solar panel.
Yeah, you're right. So that's a solar PV plant. So how it works is, as long as there's sunlight, it converts sunlight into electricity.
And the third one is wind turbines.
Yes, so that's a conventional wind turbine. That's right.
Just one tip there for your questions.
Yeah.
So I think Mr. Ganesha has answered one of the quizzes. So later, later, yeah, no, I want to encourage them so at least they pay attention to you. So that so these are the questions that you'll find that it will be available on the quizzes. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good, very good. Okay.
Okay, so the fourth one. Anyone? Take a guess. There's no right, there's no wrong. We're all learning. Anyone want to try?
Geothermal.
Yes, so that's a geothermal plant. You can see the amount of gas coming out. The fifth one. Okay, the fifth one is more of a concept, but it's available in Scotland. Anyone? Guys?
Ocean energy.
Okay, very close. It's a tidal concept. So how it works is when it's high tide and low tide, the constant move of the current actually produces electricity. It's similar to a propeller concept of how wind turbine works. So when the water moves through, it actually cuts through the turbine to produce electricity. And there's no gas for the last one. Okay, the last one is actually a biomass plant. So the furnace, the tube, but you can't see the amount of smoke which is coming out because I think the plant was not working during that moment. All right. So the major source of RE in Malaysia are down to three main sources: hydropower, solar energy, and bioenergy. Hydropower has got the highest RE capacity in Malaysia. So if you go and look through, we have got a large potential because we've got rain throughout the whole year. And all we have to do is catch the water and release it when we need electricity. It's actually a good base energy to supply all our loads. But currently in Malaysia, we are actually using coal power plant because it's a cheaper alternative. But if you want to go green, hydropower could be one of the solution. And in terms of consumption, solar energy is one of the best because imagine each houses or all the residential houses which has got rooftop and is owned by the person, they can actually install solar PV and start consuming electricity from their roof itself. So imagine paying less to TNB. Wow. And solar thermal in the other sense would be rather than having a water heater, you can actually have a solar thermal tank where it actually gets heated by sunlight, but the only issue is you have to take your bath either in the afternoon or slightly earlier in the evening rather than taking a bath at night. And bioenergy has got the, in terms of Malaysian potential, I'd say bioenergy is another big potential because we got a lot of crops, biomass, biofuel, and also biogas. So in terms of biomass, if you think about it, right, plantations, most of the time, I like to use the concept of a banana plantation because if you all know, right, banana plants can only fruit once. You guys know that, right? I guess not.
Yeah.
Okay, so when a banana plant can only fruit once, most of the time what they do, they just chop down the plant and they leave it to dry. And this actually produces more carbon emission than helping the environment. So if you can come up with a collection policy where some companies can go and collect these things and process it, you can actually burn it and produce energy from that. Biofuel, in terms of Malaysia, we are one of the largest producers of biofuels. And the other thing would be in terms of transition, right? If you think about it, we are actually pouring fuels into cars. And from that concept, we are using purely petrol or natural gas to a certain extent is a less evil compared to petrol. So moving in transition from that would be biofuel. But we are developing our fuel to come as close as petrol. So just watch the space. Soon it'll be biofuel in your petrol stations. And how biogas works is very simple. Collect the rubbish into one place and then cover it up and collect the gas from it. From the gas, you put it through a gas turbine and then you produce electricity. Any questions regarding major resources in Malaysia?
Yes, Mr. Ganesha.
Yes.
There's a few questions on the YouTube as well. On
Yep.
YouTube, we have got about 37 people watching.
All right.
So this question is from Roshan.
Yeah.
Roshan's asked question is, does ocean energy still could be used if there is pollution in the ocean?
Can ocean energy be used if there's pollution in the ocean?
Yes.
Yes, because you're still going to use a turbine to run through the system. If you think about pollution, it happens all the time. Unfortunately, it's something of a habitual thing among humans, which is not good. But pollution doesn't affect the production of energy. The only problem right now in terms of ocean energy is because of the sea itself. We haven't found a mechanism or a machine which could help us fight through the situation which happens in sea. And because of the salt water and basically the sunlight, so it degrades our machines. Once we actually find a solution to that, that could be the biggest thing. But that's only in terms of waves. In terms of tidal, Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of tidal, there's another potential altogether, because if you think about it, the current is continuously moving underwater, but due to degradation again, we haven't found the right material to use, and the cost of it is really expensive. So unless we have got bigger governments sponsoring it, there's no way ocean energy can take off. But another thing that you look at is OTEC lah, ocean thermal energy converter, where you actually use the differential in terms of thermal between the surface and the bottom of the sea. That converter can be a potential in Malaysia if you think about it, because sorry.
We can hear. Yeah, there is one more question. There are few questions, so I'll go quickly. Yeah. There's
No
one more.
worries, you can take your time, because I think my slides are already coming to an end.
Oh, okay, good, good. So this question is from Brian Daniel Adam.
Yeah.
And his question is there any renewable source that has the potential to be future source of energy?
Is there any renewable energy source to be a future source of energy?
Uh,
Actually, all of it have got the highest potential, but in terms of policies, we are developing it, and we are looking for investors to further develop and market players to push the market. So to keep it short, renewable energy is the future energy source.
Okay, so all, right? So the answer, all has the potential.
Yeah, because if you think about it, we don't have the proper infrastructure to develop RE. Our infrastructure is built for fossil fuels.
Okay.
So once you understand the different type of energy sources, and then you develop the system, all the energy sources can be developed.
Okay, very good. So Intan has got a similar question.
All right.
Intan's question is that which renewable energy source is the best?
From my point of view, I'd say solar is the best, because we have sunlight readily available. But in terms of potential, rather, I'd say hydropower. It has also very high potential in terms of Malaysian context, because we've got rainfall.
So I think it depends on the environment and the location. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you can't put solar in a country where it snows all the time.
Right.
It doesn't function that way.
Okay.
So countries where it's cooler, they have got higher wind potential. Unfortunately, Malaysia is not that cold, so we don't have much wind potential, and our winds are not that fast. But there are developments in terms of technology in the wind industry, which could lead to a wind potential growth in Malaysia as well. If you think about it, there's this thing called urban wind. You all can actually do some research on this. Urban wind and micro wind or pico wind. So it's actually a smaller turbine where it can take up a smaller energy surge. So if you think about in a city setting, right, where buildings are closely arranged to each other. Sorry, I'm having a feedback. Somebody has their.
Okay, I hope it's not mine. Anybody? Is it still there? Okay, those who are not, do not have any questions, can please turn off your mics. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's quite okay on my end.
Yep.
Izwan, can you hear any feedback?
No, I think it was like a glitch or something.
Yeah, initially.
Yeah.
I could hear myself.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So if you think about it, in a building setting, right, where buildings are closely arranged to each other, when you walk past the lane, right, you actually feel a lot of wind, right, in Malaysia. So if you think about it in that way, how wind functions is total wind entering a location equals to total wind going out from the location as well. So if you put the turbine in between, you actually have a potential of producing electricity, because especially in KL, because we got very high rise building closely arranged to each other.
Okay, one more question from Hoirnur Nisha. Her question is that can renewable energy replace fossil fuel? I think completely, maybe the
okay, I take it from a wider perspective. If you think about it this way, for the past hundreds over years, we've been using fossil fuels without knowing how bad it's impacting our environment. But if you look at it from what has been happening in these past few years, as an example, as our temperature has only risen to about slightly more than 1.5%, we are moving towards 2%. You can already see that climate change is occurring at a very quick rate. The ice is melting in both the north and south pole, and in a certain extent, you can see an extinction of animal life, and you basically lose as the temperature increases, the salinity of the sea level changes, and you can actually see islands getting uh, overwhelmed in a certain sense that islands can go extinct. You won't have islands anymore because the water level could increase up to 3 meters, and in certain countries the highest point of water is already at 3 meters. That's the highest land height. So if you think about we have to make a transition. So the ideal transition would be to from move away from coal, go into natural gas, which is less of the two evil because you're actually producing less carbon, and then from natural, I can hear myself again. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, that was my problem. I accidentally turned on the YouTube, to check. I think it's okay now.
Yeah, okay. Now it's alright.
Okay.
So how it functions is it moves towards from natural gas, it moves towards renewable energy. So ideal situation would be for a coal plant to move to a biomass plant because you're replacing solid with another solid. And from a petrol plant, you can move to a biofuel plant. And from a gaseous plant, you can move to a biogas plant. And later on, once we have the facility ready, we could move even into hydrogen. So hydrogen is has got much less carbon emission compared to biogas, but the production of hydrogen has to be looked at whether you're producing green hydrogen or another color of hydrogen which is not actually green. So transition can happen, but whether it's 100% depends on the facility and the readiness of our grid. Another situation would be to have storage because all RE sources are intermittent. If there's no sunlight, there's no solar energy. If there's not enough rain, there's no hydropower. And if there's not enough wind, there's no wind power. So what can be, I would say, reconciled in a sense is producing or having more energy storage and demand side management because most of us use more energy than what we require. Any other questions, sir?
Okay. I don't see any questions, new questions.
All right, so we move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so RE with potential to grow, as I explained earlier. Sorry. Oh, I'm getting myself. There's a feedback again.
Oh dear.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, wind, geothermal, and ocean energy have got very high potential. But in terms of geothermal in Malaysia, we have got 2 locations which can be further developed. Hopefully, one of the reasons why geothermal cannot be developed in Malaysia is because we are outside the ring of fire. So we don't have much potential, but there are 2 locations which can be further studied. So we welcome anybody who is interested. And in terms of wind, as I mentioned earlier, our wind speed isn't up to standards yet for us to produce wind at a commercial scale. So horizontal axis is out of the topic. Vertical axis is the one which I said in terms of urban wind and also micro or pico wind, smaller scale, but which could be a potential. There's something that we can look into. Ocean wave, as I mentioned earlier, because the starting part of the sea, right, the first 200 meters is very high. So they call it Selat Sunda. So the depth is not much in terms of producing wave or tidal energy, but there is potential in terms of ocean thermal. So can I ask a question to everyone since I didn't get any questions? Which renewable energy source has the largest potential in Malaysia and why, from your point of view?
Okay. Anybody, please? extra marks.
+1.
Solar, because Malaysia is rather hot.
Okay. Malaysia has got a lot of sunlight. That's one of the reasons why solar could be a very big potential. True.
What about hydro?
What about hydro? Yes. Why? Why hydro?
Um, oh wait,
There's no right. There's no wrong. Whatever of your mind.
because it's affordable.
It's affordable. Are you sure? Is it cheap to build a dam?
Oh, it's like it provides low cost electricity like data.
Okay, so one of the major issues with hydro is because you are covering up a space and then you're collecting water. If you think about it, you're basically using up land space and you're covering up wetted area which actually produces carbon sink. Unless it's managed properly where it's empty land and then you collect water from that and then you produce electricity is different. But to build a dam, it is expensive and it takes about 5 years to build a dam, roughly 5 to 7 years. But that's a potential. I would say hydro has got a high potential as well. So in terms of the Malaysian context, right, the highest potential would be either hydro, solar. Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's been very good question, very good sharing session. So I must thank all the students for very good questions that you have posed for. But feel free, yeah. Any other questions? You can also ask about career. Since you're students, you are interested in engineering. Of course, what we used to think is that oil and gas, right? Oil and gas is the industry that everyone wants to be because it's very lucrative to be in the oil and gas industry. So renewable energy. So maybe you can ask question, what is the potential growth? Yeah. So this is something I want students to think about, and maybe you ask questions that you feel will be relevant for your studies if you're interested to pursue your degree in anything that is related to energy. Think about it. Yeah. So, to Mr. Ganesh.
So
Yeah.
since you have taken up the question, I'll take the opportunity to answer it as well. So in terms of growth, I'd say from the oil and gas, the transition would be towards renewable energy because a few years back, everybody was going into the oil and gas thinking that that's the biggest industry, but
Yes.
renewable energy is growing at a rapid pace and can be a future depending on what you're planning to do. There's so many different career opportunities within renewable energy itself. You don't have to only be an engineer. You can be a business strategist, you can be a lawyer enforcing new policies, you can be even like Mr. Edzwan, who is in the, I would say, strategic communication, where we're actually creating awareness so people understand how good renewable energy is. Or you can be in strategic planning like me, where we are looking at potential to improve the current situation. In terms of career, there's a lot of things you can do within renewable energy, and the future is going to be green.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, so that's something that you could ponder upon. All
Yep.
right. There is one question from Fazlina. Fazlina asks, can the oil that we use when we cook
Cooking
can
oil.
be used out? That means cooking oil. Can it be
Yes.
used for renewable energy?
Cooking oil actually it can be used, but I wouldn't consider it as renewable energy. It's more towards a better management of energy. If you look at Japan, right, they actually have got facilities where they collect cooking oil or oil which is wasted. The oil which has got sediments inside it. You don't normally use it and you throw it away. That oil is actually being collected and they process it to produce energy. So to answer your question, yes, but it's not renewable energy. It actually depends on what type of oil you're using for cooking. I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that she says all right. Thanks. All right.
Most
So
welcome.
yeah. So proceed, please.
Oh, yep. So I'd say that's it. If you have any questions, please ask.
Great. So thanks, Mr. Ganesha Pillai.
Yep.
We have come to the end of this sharing session. So in 45 minutes, it's basically to talk about the types of renewable energy and the potential. So the questions has been very, very good. And this is very relevant for our seed ambassadors who are supposed to come up with a project. You know, the third assignment, our SEDA seed ambassadors are supposed to come up with a project, an idea for a renewable energy concept in the school. So I think from the information shared by Mr. Ganesha and also the inputs given by Inche Izwan, it'll give our students a better idea as to what kind of a concept of renewable energy, whether it's solar or wind or biothermal or biomass, biothermal, like countries that they have this geological
Geothermal.
geothermal. That's different. We don't have very much, so in schools will be quite impossible unless if your school is located on a hot spring. Right.
Or you have volcano underneath you, so it's not a potential in Malaysia.
So we don't have any schools on a volcano yet. All right. So, but biomass, yes, there's a possibility if there is enough waste that is generated in the school, in the community. Let's say you have a special collection. Yes, that may also be a possibility. But again, Mr. Ganesha has mentioned that these are all where the technology is very clean. Therefore, there is no smell. I must say that the
Sanitary landfill, you can actually Google it up.
sanitary landfill, which we actually took our students, through the SEDA program in 2019. Izwan would remember. We took them to the Bukit Taga.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes. We were very impressed. First time I am going there, Dr. Yahya was there. And so we took 40 students and they were impressed because it was so clean. So I'm sharing this because maybe when things are back to normal, when travel is possible, we can do another visit to these places. So it's an eye opener. And we had many engineers there, who talked about this industry and the potential. So from a student's perspective, I think this is very useful because you want to see whether there's a career path. And this is not dirty. The energy that is generated is clean. The environment is clean. There were no flies. There were no smell.
There's no smell.
Yeah.
Ramesh, I'll add something.
Sure.
When we reached the topmost of the hill, remember, and I stepped down from the bus and I was asking, where's landfill? And then the engineer said, you're standing on it.
Yeah, because it's fully covered.
Yeah, so I was even thinking if this can be done in such a way that you can even put shops, entertainment for riadah, right, sukan or whatever. So even the landfill can become a part where healthy activities can be done, and therefore it could lead into a recreational activity center.
Yeah, so that has been our experience. Well, we like to share this with all our students who are following this session today. And, so this is what SEDA does. Mr. Inje Izwan and team, they have been doing a lot of awareness to create interest in the renewable energy. And I personally feel that, the oil and gas industry probably has come to its peak. And the next great growth we will see, which will be as good or better in terms of job opportunities, in terms of pay, salaries, will be from the renewable energy scope. My last point, Mr. Ganesha, was that when you introduced yourself as an energy analyst, that sounded very nice. We know, we've heard of data analyst. Data analysts earn about 10,000 to 20,000 or even more. So maybe you'd like to say something about, energy analyst?
So, being an energy analyst, you actually look at different type of I'll focus more towards renewable energy. So you look at different renewable energy sources around the world, and you get to meet amazing people along the way from different countries, what they are working on in terms of renewable energy. So we look at what potential we could use in terms of developing that in Malaysia, in terms of policies as well. And yeah, that's what the energy analyst does, I guess. Sorry, you're muted.
All right. So that was a wonderful sharing. Yeah. So we have come to an end. Our session ends at 12:46. 12:45. We have exceeded by 1 minute. I'm going to share the link for the quizzes. So those who have been following this session, both on our YouTube channel as well as on this Google Meet channel, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to share the link here, and I will quickly explain how the question was. Those who have not participated in the quiz, I will explain to you how it works. But in the meantime, to fill up the 2 minutes, I would like to invite Izwan to maybe say something, to wrap up this session, while I quickly put the link here. Izwan just would like to do some closing ceremony, closing remarks.
Okay, sure. Okay, all right. It was about, thank you, Mr. Ramesh and Mr. Ganesha. It was a good sharing session just now. I believe that we all learned a lot of new stuff, new information about renewable energy in generally, not just in Malaysia, but also in general. And for those who wants to, you after this you can just join the what we call this, the quiz for the second time. For the second session, and also for those who wants to watch miss the last session that we had a few weeks ago. It was a presentation by Mr. Wong. It's about RE career. So if you guys want to know a bit more about RE, you can just log on to our Facebook, and then you can scroll down and you can find the link to the first session. And also we have several sessions that we had before that also under this program lah. So then soon we're gonna have another session, I think the third and last one for quiz. Am I right?
Yes, the third and the last one will be on the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 19th we also have the prize giving. We'll announce all the winners, especially for the SEDA Seed Ambassadors. Then we'll have the third session, which is open to public. That's right.
And okay, all right then. Good luck for you guys. I hope you guys can get the best time and also win the prizes, the interesting prizes. If you don't, you can always try another one for the last one, I think. But yeah. But the information that we gained today is very useful. Even me also, I learned something new today. So I hope you guys can share this link or video to your colleague if you find this interesting, and also help them to know more about renewable energy in Malaysia, and also spread the awareness about the green technology, the green energy lah. Yeah.
Great. Yes, I must say I too have gained lots of insights from Mr. Ganesha's sharing session just now. And thanks, Izwan, for the closing remarks and the encouragement given. So he has reminded all of you that we got one more quiz, and there are lots of interesting prizes. The first round, we had already announced the winners. And I think we have also sent out the prizes already for the first round. Okay, the first quiz that was by Mr. Chan had given some very interesting inputs. Today's one, the closing, I just shared the link. So the link, if you go into your chat box, both on YouTube as well as on the Google Meet, you'll see the link. You just you go into that. It'll take you to a Google form. We need your name and we need your contact and IC number. Sorry, your what you call email address, because the certificates will be automatically sent to you. If you give a wrong name, then that wrong name will appear on the certificate. So please type your names properly, name of school. This will appear on the certificate. So that's thanks to Google. We have got that, the ability to generate these certificates immediately. All right, but just bear in mind, we are finalizing the details of the certificate for the first round. So if you have not received it, just hold on. We will send it to you together with the second batch together. Give us a few days, but definitely before the 18th, all of you will receive your certificate. The closing deadline for today's session is on the 6th. That means we give you 24 hours, slightly more than 24 hours. All right. So on the 6th midnight, you have to submit all your entries. And one reminder, you can, we have to be honest. You can try many times, but then we will only take the score for the first attempt. right? So we have got some system mechanism that can check if you have tried many times. So you have to answer it correctly, 20 questions, fastest and the most accurate will win the prizes. All right. So with that, thank you all. Just a closing part, we had about 35 what do you call response on this Google Meet, and on the YouTube. Let me double check again what is the numbers. We had about 40 who are watching on YouTube, so total about 70 plus. But we will also share this recorded uh, session so that those who missed it can still watch and get some very valuable information, insights shared by Mr. Ganesha, right? So with that, I thank you all. I thank you to our team, Mr. Ganesha, our main speaker, J. Izwan, Dr. Yahya, and our STEM for All Makers team for helping to record and to do this sharing session. With that, we shall end our sessions today, right? And have a good weekend. You can already try the questions now. You can go into the YouTube, sorry, that's a quizzes platform. Huh? When you fill up the form, it will straight away give you the link to quizzes. If you don't fill up the form, you don't get the link, right? So that's how it works. All right. So you guys are great. Thank you. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.